ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition, a season opening edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingstone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We are back again for our second season, and we're going to start off by wrapping up a Mammoth Ashes series. To join me, once again, a returning guest. He's a Channel 10 sports reporter, all-rounder, the ladies' MVP, and the king of cans, James Ingram. Jimmy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Adding another nickname to the list. Appreciate it. Very good to see you, Dane. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Same to you, mate. Now, you did actually get to join my Boxing Day test in the off-season. You made a very good debut. Everyone was very impressed by you. I have an annual Boxing Day cricket match with all my mates back in Brisbane. Jimmy did join us, and everyone was like, who the fuck's this ringer? He can do it all. How'd you find it, mate? Did you have good fun?
Oh, look, having heard about it for years, it was a dream come true, a lifelong goal finally fulfilled. When I saw people like getting out the spray paint to like do the creases and stuff, and I was like, this is going to be some serious competition. And then when the first couple of bowlers were bowling 5 wides down the leg side from the first ball at about 10 k's an hour, I was like, I wasn't sure what to think. But no, there was some great cricket and some very good lads out there. It was a night to behold.
There are some varied talents in that team, and we did have the Zing Bales for the first time, and a proper scorer's book. So
you get a few.
It was good fun, mate. I was stranded 47 not out. I took a single and the last wicket and blew my chance at the half century. So gutted about that. I was 1-1 for my captaincy, 3 half centuries, which is a new record for Boxing Day cricket there in Inala. So shout out to the boys, mate. But what I did get you to hear to talk about was obviously the Ashes. Australia do it again, 4-1. Now, I did go back. We previewed this Ashes series. You predicted 4-1. That was your prediction. I said it would be a clean sweep, 5-0. So you were on the money, mate. I don't know if we'd quite predict that it would happen like that. Just the way this whole series has gone down. Of course, England now hasn't won since 2015. They won't have a chance of redemption till mid-2027 in England. They leave in shambles. Boozeball, more like Boozeball, Bazball. What is it, mate? It's all happening for them. Harry Brook got in trouble at the end. What I want to ask you, Jimmy, pretty simple. Was Australia good or was England just shit?
I think Australia was good. And I think it came down to a number of reasons. I find the fallout between Stokes and McCullum very interesting. And you look at the number of Australian players who contributed, and it wasn't 11, even though we cycled through 15 or 16 players in the series. There were 3 or 4 who stood up, a couple of others who played key roles when the moments mattered. But I think it's just the case. It is so hard to beat Australia in an Ashes series. You need a lot of people to play badly. Australia only need 1 or 2 of those world star players to play well. And even with so many people out, they had enough quality and just the grind, especially of an Ashes, of the 5 tests, the pressure, the massive crowds, the heat, it all builds up and it makes it all such a tough battle.
Mate, if England were going to win, this was it, right? No Josh Hazlewood. Paddy Cummins only plays in Adelaide. Nathan Lyon played 1.5 games, dropped for Brisbane. Basically, we had Travis Head killing it, as he always does. Mitchell Starc having an all-time series for him. Maybe Alex Carey and Scotty Boland chipping in. But like you said, they used a lot of players. And, if this was England's chance to get it done right, they still let it slip through their fingers. All the off-field stuff I found very fascinating. It all ended just in a farce, really, with the Harry Brook stuff, even though it happened late. Plenty of just storylines coming out about this drinking culture, which is pretty shocking, right? I mean, this is the pinnacle of Test cricket, and maybe it's a media beat up, but how serious the Australian team is, how we as Australian fans take it, and England literally taking the piss. What did you make of
you
all
hear
that?
Kerry O'Keefe telling the stories about on lunchtime about going for a big night out the night before a game, and you laugh and you think, wasn't the 70s and 80s a crazy time? And it turns out, well, I guess it's not as far away as we thought. It's interesting the value that clearly this McCullum regime has placed on player comfort, on players being able to prepare the way they want, whether that's training, whether that's not training. More often than not, it seems to be not training. Whether that means taking the time to enjoy yourself on nights out. And, I doubt it was a sanctioned nightclub visit the night before a game, but it was clearly something that Brook felt wasn't going to be a career ender if it got out, which it has proved not to be. So they've valued that, and I think we saw as the series developed that clashing with Stokes, especially, who I think is a man who takes so much responsibility upon himself. That carefree style wasn't working for him, and arguably didn't work for a number of the players, and some of them it did. I mean, Jacob Bethel was had a great time in Noosa. He had a great time in Melbourne, and he had a great time at the SCG.
Did very well, mate. The headline though, Boozeball to Bazball. The timeline is so Harry Brook on just the night before the third ODI in New Zealand, which is just before they came to Perth, reportedly got drunk, punched by a bouncer. They get to Perth, they stay at the casino, and apparently they didn't mind a punt. Obviously, they had plenty of extra days off there as well, based on what happened that opener. Stayed at the casino. Apparently, they didn't enjoy a punt there. We all know the Noosa story, having that mid-series break, which apparently was planned over a year ago, even though they didn't have a bowling coach until a few months out from the series. They do that again. And then that Ben Duckett video where he's drunk, pissed, out in the streets. And now there's a full review, obviously, by the English Cricket Board. Of course, there's a review. There always has to be one at a time like this. Now they're talking about curfews for the players in future. What do you make of all that?
Well, it's either okay or it isn't, right? If your team says it's okay for you to have this time in Noosa to explore, then fair be, you got to go. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say, well, the directive from the top has been we need to really spend our time relaxing, on focus on relaxing, and then suddenly you're in trouble for, enjoying that Noosa trip. Well, clearly, Harry Brook was out of order, but the rest of them were following this team culture that they thought was gonna bring them the way. It is definitely very interesting. I don't know. We saw you on Boxing Day, Dane. How do you play after a couple of beers? Does it affect your cricket?
Look, mate, Boxing Day is very different. I think the ideal is three. After that, my batting's on fire. Get to about
Well, that's like
nine.
all sports, right? You're better at pool, you're better at darts, and you're better at cricket after 3 beers.
It's very true. Well, the story with Booney, right? He had 52 cans of beer on the way to London for the 1989 Ashes, and he's a folk hero. But England loses, it's a very different story. If they win, we probably don't really give a shit about half this stuff. But the fact that they did lose, I would say pretty miserably in the end, they leave with so many questions. Mate, I just want to get straight into your favorite player of the series. I can have a little guess of who it's going to be. It probably could be the same as mine. Who is your favorite player of this Ashes series?
Yeah, definitely the one who gave me the most positive memories is Travis Head. The South Australian did so well. The aura when he comes out to bat in the second innings at Perth, I think there was talk in the Australian rooms of sending Nathan Lyon out to bat, taking that ultra defensive option, but him taking it upon himself to come out, change that game, change the whole series, and then do it in a number of occasions, whether all playing an important contribution with him. I know Jake didn't get the runs he would have wanted, but those 60, 70 run partnerships in 5 to 10 overs that opened it up the innings for a number of occasions got Australia over the line. And I think, once again, we look at that. Travis Head doesn't mind a beer, certainly doesn't mind a beer, but they seem to do it after they win, and it goes down a lot smoother that way.
Mate, 3 centuries for the series, highest run score of 629 runs, averaged a tick over 62 across the 10 innings. Obviously, moved to the opening position after that first match. It looks like he's found a home now. There's obviously questions that he couldn't do it. He was also the leading run scorer in the last home Ashes series as well. I was having a look there just before. Hard not to go past it. Always lucky to be at day 2 at the SCG. Very unlucky. We just missed that century. He was in the early 90s when play was halted at the end of that day. But just to watch him across that pitch, mate, beautiful to watch. You've seen it before. Is this an entertainer? I love it. I'd have to say he'd also be my favourite player of the series, but very close with Starkey. Obviously, he did slow down a little bit as the series went on, understandably. Becomes just the second player since Mitchell Johnson to take 30 wickets in an Ashes series. And, mate, his record of taking a wicket in the first over, he's now taken in the first over of an innings, I should say. He's now taken 27 4 times this series, including the series opener, which really set the tone. Well-deserved player of the series, right?
Absolutely, so well deserved, and especially as a D grade bowler, it's always good to see the bowlers getting the rewards that too often go to the batters. Someone I also want to shout out that I think actually almost more than anything else epitomised the difference in this series is actually Michael Neser, because what he embodies is just playing good cricket. And that's what he always does, no matter what team he's playing for, what format. Michael Neser plays good cricket, and he always plays a good game, and he never lets you down. England have devalued the county championship. A lot of their players play little to no county championship games. They don't seem to select based on county championship form. They select based on attributes and things like that. And it showed here. They spent all this time going, well, to win in Australia, you need big, fast blokes who are going to bounce it. You can't just pick trundlers. Where Neser is obviously a lot better than the trundler, but he is a domestic cricketer who has honed his craft and delivers in key moments. And I think that difference of approach of England picking for statistics and picking for guys who can do it and look good doing it versus picking against proven results and a cricketer who's going to come in and not let you down when the game's on the line was part of the difference in this series. So Michael Neser would have thought he might not ever get another test match when he injured his hamstring last year, played 3 tests, did amazingly.
My trivia about Nisa is that Bo Webster labelled him MVP from the celebrations in Sydney. I was out there at the team. I was out there at the team hotel on the day after they wrapped it up at their swanky hotel in Double Bay, very fancy area in Sydney. We did catch up with Slug, and he revealed that Nisa, even though he's flanked by his kids, we did see him come out the next morning. Didn't want to talk to media. Looked a little bit dusty. Although I'd say Cam Green was the dustiest of the lot. He did look pretty rough. He didn't want to talk. We asked him if he wanted to talk. He was having none of it, understandably. Nisa was that's MVP, so it wasn't Travis Head.
I'm actually speaking to Michael Neser tomorrow morning. It's probably already happened by the time this episode goes out. So we'll have to follow up on that and ask him how he enjoyed those celebrations because he's back for the Brisbane Heat coming up.
Lovely, mate. I was telling that, season ticket holders wants to know, is it true? Because that is what Bo Webster said. You can quote that for sure. So very interesting, mate. I think the fact they already wrapped up the series, I was really hoping there was going to be a Travis Head walking in at like 6 a.m. as the cameras were rolling the other morning, but wasn't to be. This Australian team, very different to England too. Like, I don't know if a lot of them do that. I mean, they've got an aging team, right? They've got guys in their mid-30s. I don't really think there's a bunch of big drinkers in the team. It's sort of like when I was covering New South Wales Origin team. There's just not a lot of big. It's different culture. It's a totally different culture, not what it used to be. England's almost like Australia back in like the 90s or the Origin teams of the 2000s. They seem to be stuck in a different era, whereas a lot of mature Australian sports teams don't seem to be in that drinking culture at the moment, and especially even the younger generation. It doesn't really seem to be part of what they do. We don't have these classic stories of years gone by. It's just not the way it works. And maybe England will learn that lesson now, going home. I guess where to from here. Firstly, I guess for England, I mean, I was looking at the odds before. Australia's going to be a $2 favourite for 2027. England 245, so pretty even. But like you said, it's the pitches, right? It's going to be a very different story over there. What do they have to do in the next 18 months? Do they sack their coach? Do they have a new captain? What happens now between now and there?
Well, I mean, I'm not a gambling man, but I'm jumping on England at those prices. I think Australia, come that 2027 series, is going to be missing a lot of key personnel, or a lot of key personnel are going to be older, and it's just harder to do it away. England's pitches at home will suit them more. There'll be less movement. There'll be less pressure from, being the visiting team and having to be together all the time. And I've got a number of players who, even this same 10 to 15 players, plus or minus a couple, I think will start very cleanly favourites against Australia, or should, in fact. The question with McCullum, though, is whether they keep this style and whether they keep him. I mean, you lose an Ashes series in this manner. It always seems to take casualties with it when you lose something like this, especially all the off field stuff that's gone on, first with Brook, and now I think some of the stuff that's rumoured with him and Stokes. They'll keep him at least for the World Cup. It could be a case that that is the next test of him. But I think this England team is not in too bad a spot at all, because in their conditions, it's a whole different story.
Is Bazball dead, mate? Is this confirmation, or should they embrace Boozeball?
Well, Stokes was trying his best to kill it, it seemed. He was the one who, in Brisbane, I was there as he just dead batted with Will Jacks for a few hours, and he seemed to be really pushing this cause for a change in accountability, a change in play that seemed to be in contradiction to what McCullum was saying in his own press conferences. When we talk about the McCullum-Stokes thing, that's probably the differential. I think they've won a lot of games at home playing that attacking style of cricket. Do they dial it down a bit? Perhaps. But I think that is when they've played some of their best cricket. I don't think it will be Bazball as we know it.
I think they just embrace Boozeball personally, mate. Uh, it's not happening. I forgot to ask you too earlier, favorite moment of the series. That was the other thing I was going to ask you. Do you have one moment, boil it down, whether it was a turning point or whether it's just something you enjoyed? What was your pick?
Uh, I do. This was the moment I knew Australia were going to win the Ashes, and it's related to my second player of the series, who's Aaron Gox, um, who made a cameo appearance at the Gabba Cricket Ground. People who don't know, Goxie, a comedian, distracted Steve Smith with an eye-catching jersey with his beer and his beard as he sat down next to the sight screen. He's a very funny comedian, Goxie. He opened for the Great Cricketer a few nights beforehand at their live show in Brisbane. But I think you go into an Ashes series and it's easy to get caught up in the hype of this England team and the press and the media. And then the Perth test was such a strange test. It was discombobulating. Now, what's real? What's going on? What's happening? And then something like that happens. You're like, oh, this is cricket in Australia. And this is a country that loves its cricket and it has great characters supporting its cricket. And it's a country that wins more often than not while they're at home. And I think for me, so much tension just flood out of my body when I saw Goxie with that beer. I was just like, everything's going to be okay.
I've seen him do stand up in Sydney, and my story about him is we were doing a New South Wales State of Origin media op at Ballymore actually when they were in Brisbane. And I don't know how he found out, but it was only media there at Ballymore, the Reds' traditional rugby home ground. And he was just waiting around training, just him. I know because I'd seen him in Sydney do stand up, and he was just waiting around. He's like, "When's the team get here?" I was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" So obviously loves his sport, mate. My one's a little bit more traditional. I love the Steve Smith, Jofra Archer sledge because I love sledging. It wasn't even the best sledge, but it was just Archer telling Smith he likes to play shots when there's not much on the scoreboard, with Smith saying, "You bowl fast when there's nothing going on, champion."
Champion.
I love a bit of fire from Smudge, and just to see him finish off with the century. He didn't have his best series by any marks, but just the fact that he gets it done SCG on his home pitch, I did love to see it. I did also like to see that him. And Mitchell Starc basically probably shut down any sort of rumors or thoughts that they may not see out the next couple of years. They seem to be pretty emphatic that they're going to play through, which leads me into Australia for 2027, mate, because obviously we didn't see this traditional bowling quartet really play together at all. Obviously Hazelwood didn't play a single game. Is that the four that come back play for Australia? Is it Starc, Cummins, Hazelwood and Lyon come England 2027?
Well, I think they all want to. I think that's the clearest part about it. I don't think any of them have made any noises about pulling up stumps before then. Whether they get there is a different story. Obviously, Hazelwood's had now multiple summers in a row where he's been unable to play and make a serious impact. Lyon went down early. He went down obviously in the middle of the series, but he was basically out of it in Perth as well. He looked injured and didn't really bowl. So it's interesting though, because when they all play, they are very clearly still the best four bowlers in Australia, and that is our best bowling lineup. But it's a matter of, can they hold on into that series? Will they still be striving in that series? Mitchell Starc has peaked here. Can he still get better? It would belie everything we know about sports science, but it's perhaps the only way to go. They might need that squad tactic again, where they pick 8 fast bowlers in their squad and they try and cycle through them. But I think unless there's a serious form drop off, they're all going to try and still be there.
Lyon's 38, Stark's 35. They've got Boland waiting in the wings. He's 36. I mean, we're only talking about 18 months, so you'd expect them all to be there unless there is something crazy like injury breakdown or something like that. But it will
Yeah,
be
I
interesting.
think important to remember as well that before they go to the Ashes so this time next year, they go to India. So Nathan Lyon's not going to retire on the brink of an India series, right? Like he'll because we need him for that. He is still, apart from maybe in those conditions, Kuhneman, our number one spin bowler. So he's not going to retire before that series, you'd think. And if it's only another 2 months then until the Ashes, he'll at least try and hang on. The fact that they didn't pick Murphy for either of those last 2 tests was interesting. I think Lyon plays at least the Sydney test if he's fit. Whether that says anything about Murphy or whether it just freed them to make a decision they would have loved to have made anyway is the question. But I think, yeah, they're going to try and keep going.
Geez, I was shocked they didn't play Murphy at the SCG, mate. They put him up for media. I think it was like 3 or 4 days out from the game. I wrote a whole story for Fox Sports News saying he's in, he's in, he's in. Why else would you put him up? He basically all his grabs and comments were saying, well, leading towards that he was in. And we see the team, and he's out. They don't play a spinner for however long it was, 80 years or whatever the hell it was. And pretty crazy stuff. They could have used him out the SCG, but slug, Bo Webster. Again, segue perfectly into Cam Green, mate. I know a lot of cricket tragics love that guy, but he's had his chances. He hasn't cemented his spot. Bo Webster comes in and does what he does at the SCG, those 3 crucial wickets, that knock as well to really get Australia home. If you could pick one of them, mate, it seems pretty clear to me. Who are you picking?
Yeah, I think obviously Webster's earned his spot as the first all-rounder at the moment, but important to remember that Usman Khawaja has retired. The next test against Bangladesh, it could very well be Green at 5, Carey at 6, Webster at 7, unless another player puts his hand up to bat in that middle order. Every time Cam Green goes and plays Sheffield Shield cricket, he's very clearly the best batter in the country. He just needs to mentally work it out and get that right for Test cricket. There's a little bit of Sheffield Shield towards the end of the season that I don't think he's going to play. I think he's going to be focusing on getting his body right for the T20 World Cup. So he might not play another first-class game before Australia's next Test match in the top end. And, you know, on against the Bangladesh attack in Darwin, he might be able to get some confidence up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them in the team. But yeah, if you're picking one right now, Webster's the man in form, and he's the man who, like Michael Nisa, is a solid cricketer and doesn't let you down.
I know we hear that a lot. It's true. Obviously, we only have Sheffield Shield really to go on when you're picking for these test series. But is there a point where it's like, well, you've had your chances at test level and else just not up to it?
It's interesting. Well, Marnus Labuschagne's the same, right? In that he went back, clearly dominated Sheffield Shield cricket. He's clearly better than anyone else there. There are other players, perhaps, who would perform better in Test cricket than they do in Sheffield Shield cricket because the pitches are generally designed to go a little bit longer because the game style is different. It's just different for different players. And I think for most of them, it just becomes a mental thing. I think the skills are clearly there for both Marnus and Cam. But yeah, if there was, you know, another Test match in February, I'd say, yeah, Cam's playing twos. But the time in between is going to be interesting.
I just don't see it, mate. And I love watching Bo Webster, and he's a character as well. His nickname is based on the size of his penis. Is that right? No, he's just a good character, and he's one of the few people who would speak to us on the morning after the test. Obviously, all the journos hanging out in the back of the hotel. We got Usman Khawaja. It was awesome to get Uzi, and a great way to bow out. Didn't do anything spectacular, but obviously gets to do at the SCG where it all began. I was at his press conference. I went for 50 minutes and he made a lot of great statements, mate. I know he cops a lot of hate, especially if you look at any comment sections on social media or anything like that. But all class guy that I've dealt with. Love watching him play. Beautiful player to watch, and I love the messages that he has. Surely gets into politics. That's my first thought after watching him just do this 50-minute extravaganza. He had the whole room captivated. Covered topics from anything from cricket to life to racism to being brought up in Australia to breaking barriers to the influence he wants to have in the next generation. I mean, independent, right? I can just imagine him running. I can't imagine being for a party, but he was just striking politician for me, and he was one of the first guys that we tried to talk to the morning after the last test, and happy to chat to us. Awesome guy. Loved him. Flanked by his daughters. Got another one on the way. Beautiful family. Beautiful man. Have so much respect for him. Love to see the way that he went out in the end, even England doing the Guard of Honor as well, which was a nice touch. And Bo Webster obviously got to talk to him, and yeah, big love for him, man. He definitely had a few beers. He looked dusty as fuck. And I heard him in the grade cricketer too. He's a good character, right? Like good guy. Hard not to love. Very different type of guy than Cam Green. And yeah, I'd put him in every day of the week. The other question, obviously, out of all this was the opening question, which we still didn't really answer after this series. Jake Weatherall definitely did not cement his spot. Looks like his legs definitely got in the way, but Travis Head did. So probably not what we expected. But who right now would you open with Travis Head in the 2027 Ashes?
It's a long way out. I think
On
the
the spot.
dream, I think the dream for Australians is that the back half of the Sheffield Shield season that either Constance or Campbell Callaway hits 3 tons and the problem's solved, right? That'd be lovely to have one of those young kids really come on and put their hand up. I think more likely is it's going to continue to be a season for the bowlers like it is every year in the Sheffield Shield now, and it becomes a matter of who's in the least bad form. As I said, those partnerships, Weatherall and Head, yeah, Weatherall didn't score the bulk runs, didn't go on with it, but he got a lot of useful starts with Travis Head. He's obviously got that issue with falling over that he needs to work on. I think Renshaw seems a sensible option, at least for the short term. I'm not sure Callaway or Constance are ready right yet to fill that void. But I wouldn't rule out Weatherall working it out and becoming a really useful player. Head on the spot, I'm saying Renshaw is most likely.
I've gone Constance. Constas, I'm going all the way, mate. I love to see it. Probably the riskiest option, but if he takes it on Boomer on Boxing Day, I'm backing him all the way, mate. I loved watching that. Probably a terrible pick though, but like you said, it is 18 months away. So who knows? I did also forgot to mention repping my other shit English team, Manchester United, also a shambles, just like the English cricket team at the moment. Just fired another manager and have no idea who they're going to appoint. Yeah, glory.
This one will be the one. Don't worry.
Yeah. Glory,
It's
glory,
like the
man.
Australian opening spot. We'll get one eventually.
Yeah. Another 20 years, mate. Another 20 years. It's been a long time. But yeah, just as a whole, I suppose, just final thoughts on the Ashes, mate. It's a record-breaking series. Viewership was up. I know the crowds were up. MCG was going to be another 90,000 plus. Millions of dollar bonanza for Cricket Australia that absolutely got bombed. Luckily, we did get a real test match at the SCG. Just how do you reckon this series will be remembered? Because it obviously had some pretty exciting moments. No one wants to see two tests finish in 2 days, though. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, especially that Boxing Day, man. And that's got to hurt. Like you said before, you want to watch cricket at that time of year. Everyone does. It's the time when actually we can enjoy the whole series, and it doesn't. I think the SCG salvaged it a little bit, and that was actually a close test in the end, even though it didn't really feel like it. How will you look back on this series?
Yeah, our two home grounds, the Adelaide Oval and the SCG, turned it on. Everyone else has got some work to do. Yeah.
Hey, Gabba, hey, Gabba, hey, hang on. This
Gabba
is
was
my
fa-
this is my current home ground, not my real home ground. The Queensland in me had to correct you.
I thought that'd roll you up. No, it's interesting. I don't think, having been at the 2023 series in England, that was a great series where so many games were down to the wire, down to the last minute, so many different storylines. This is an interesting series and a memorable one. I'm not sure I'm calling it a great series when there was probably only two games that really went down to being in the balance. Really, only one game that was decided by less than 100 runs or 5 wickets, I think. But I think it's definitely going to be one that's going to be odd when you watch the highlights on TV a few years later. I've heard others talk about this, but like, I'm going to be 45 and the highlights for this are going to come on the TV and I'm like, oh, Brendan Doggett played with Scotty Boland and Bo Webster. I remember that series. That was a weird series. And Paddy Cummins captained one game and then Scott Boland opened the batting at the MCG. This is a weird series. Like, it's going to be one of those ones, I think, rather than one of those, classic series that you rewatch over and over. But the most important thing for, I think, most Australians is that we got the chocolates.
100%, mate. I think, yeah, the highlights to me would just be head centuries, always. You can watch that man forever. And then Starkey's first over wickets. Like, that was amazing. Started the series like that and awesome to watch. But I mean, even like seeing that stat about him with Mitchell Johnson, like those Mitchell Johnson highlights that, burned into my memory, 2013-14 iconic series. Whereas it didn't feel like that with Stark. Even though he had this incredible series, it started so hot. But it didn't feel in that same category, like that Johnson thing was all time, what he was able to do. I think he averaged 12 or 13. I think Stark finishes with an average of like 19 or whatever it is for this series. Still incredible to take 31 wickets, I think it was. So amazing achievement. But yeah, this is not going to go down the record books as a classic series.
Well, a trivia question for you. Do you know who had Australia's best bowling average of the Ashes? If you're not looking at it right in front of you.
Bowling average, is it Nisa? No.
Joe Richardson, 2 wickets at 15.
That's a trick question. I was going to say, did they play more than one test? I should have. Too many people played in this Ashes, man. It was very different to years gone by. No, fair.
The
Okay.
Richo thing doesn't even feel real because I feel like up until like a week before the game, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, he's injured. He'll be out for another year." And then suddenly he's in the team, and the game goes for 2 days, and it's a whirlwind, and then he's out of the team again. And it's just, oh yeah.
You almost forget that he played, right? I mean, I didn't even get to watch that much cricket over those 2 days. Mate, thank you for having me, Jimmy. How do you quench your thirst now, mate? You get stuck into the Big Bash a lot over this next few weeks, or how do you quench your cricket thirst?
Yeah, that's unfortunately the strikers have been letting me down lately. But great to see Lloyd Pope, my old teammate, bowling spectacularly well. He's a very good cricketer there. Yeah, the Big Bash will be great over the next little period. Tennis all coming up, and then footy. We've got some Dolphin stuff happening up here tomorrow. The Broncos are starting to get up and about, and the town of Brisbane comes up with them. So yeah, really looking forward to the seasons ahead for everyone, and go the Hawks.
Mate, Broncos back to back, Lions, why not chuck them into bring on 2026? And I'll be watching my boy Kawaja for the Brisbane Heat. Let's go, baby. Jimmy, thanks again for joining us on Season Ticket Holders. Always a pleasure, mate.
Thank you for having me. Cheers, big dog.
Anytime. Thank you very much, guys. First episode of the year. We will get back into our regular content of UFC and NRL now that the cricket is wrapped up. Thanks for joining us. Please give us a follow, like on social media. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.